Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Newcastle. I'm Michael Grameslow, and today we're diving into Newcastle United versus Burnley. Premier League clash coming up this Saturday, 6th of December, live from St James's Park. And joining me today is the man who always brings tons of insight, great analysis, and just a little bit of chaos, Mr. Iain Mackay. Iain, how are you doing?
I'm all right, Michael. Thank you very much. Just a little bit of chaos. Not my usual amount of chaos. Tonight it'll just be a little bit of chaos.
Just a little bit.
A sprinkling.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're doing well, mate. But let's set the stage here. Newcastle sit in the bottom half with 19 points, but we are unbeaten in our last three, and we're scoring quite freely once again. The 2-2 draw against Spurs in midweek was lively, although a little disappointing at the end, and it looks like Newcastle United have kind of rediscovered the confidence, but I think that might have actually dropped after the game in midweek. We haven't caught up since it. How are you feeling now about the game?
I was there. I was very disappointed. I mean, I couldn't believe that we got gifted the penalty to go 2-1 up with 5 minutes to go. I don't know where the referee got 9 minutes of injury time to play. It kind of was a bit like the Liverpool game when you saw the 9 go up. You thought, "Oh, here we go," and sure enough, I don't understand when we go ahead why. I know you want to hold on to the lead, but I don't know why all the eggs are put into that "we shall not be beaten" basket. The best form of defence, even in injury time, is to be on the attack. Taking Miley off and bringing Shah on, I thought was a very psychologically damaging move by Eddie Howe to tell the rest of the team, just sit back, just defend it. And then we couldn't defend. So I was really disappointed to concede that equaliser. However, on reflection, I thought it was a great performance. I couldn't believe how much on top we were in the first half. The ball just wouldn't run for us. I was quite encouraged by our defeat at Marseille as well. So overall, having come back from the international break and being terrified about what we were going to watch, I think we put together a run of 4 decent performances and not got as much from them as we probably deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. You say not got as much as what we deserved there. It's pretty much been the tale of our season. Before the Spurs game, predicted points, the XG of points, we were fourth. We're definitely not sitting in fourth right now. So it is one of those, the stats even back it up. We're not getting the results that our players sort of said that we should. Burnley, on the other hand, the stats say they've been pretty poor. The points say they've been pretty poor. But when you've watched them, they haven't been as bad as you might think. 10 points, 5 straight defeats. Goals have been hard to come by, and they're leaking them at the other end, especially away from home. They're conceding 3 per match. But they do tend to score a lot of goals. And to be honest, when you look at them against the likes of Manchester United, they nearly got a result against Liverpool as well. This is a difficult game, and I think it's going to be one that's... Well, I'll ask you actually, Iain, how big is this game psychologically for both clubs? Because Newcastle need the win, but Burnley are already 4 points adrift. It's kind of a must-win, or a must-not-lose for Burnley, and a must-win for Newcastle. How do you see it playing out?
Well, from Burnley's point of view, any decent result is a shot in the arm for them to give them some belief that they can keep battling and they can gather enough points to
Absolutely.
not finish in the bottom 3. And they must be looking for some sort of reassurance, having lost 5 on the bounce. So it is a big game for Burnley. I don't think at the start of the season Scotty Parker would have been looking down the list of fixtures thinking this was one of the 10 wins he needed to stay up.
Absolutely
But
not.
nevertheless, I think you will also have noticed how fragile some of the leads Newcastle have had at St James's Park. And his lads will keep going right to the very end. From
Absolutely.
Newcastle's point of view, we've got to win it, I think. Very disappointing that we drew. I think we drew and ended up 13th, although after last night's games, I think because Bournemouth conceded 2 goals, we gained a place and we're up to 12th now. But when it was pointed out to Eddie Howe that if he actually hadn't conceded that second goal against Tottenham, we would have been in 7th. That's how tight the thing is. But I
Yeah,
think a win keeps our good run going. 3 wins out of 4. It's a good return, 10 points from every 12. We would be challenging for Europe come Christmas if we can get 10 points out of every 12 that's available.
absolutely.
So let's try and redress the balance and get 3 points against Burnley. We should do. They're conceding a lot of goals, and we do look very, very threatening.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there, look very threatening. 12 straight games we've scored at home, 7 unbeaten at St James's in all competitions, obviously. And it's it's one of those where we are doing really, really half well. I say really, really well, half decent at home. You have to say, performance wise, I think we've been good. But 4 wins out of 7 in the league, it kind of feels like it should be so much better given the performances. What do you think?
I think, yeah, I definitely think we deserved at least a draw against Liverpool. And to be honest, that last 15 minutes where the 10 men had got us back to 2-2, it only looked like it was us that was going to win that. So I thought we should have won that. So I agree with that. I think Arsenal were better than we were, to be fair. I don't mind. I know they left it late to score their winner,
Mhm.
and I would have loved a draw, but actually, it was all Arsenal deserved on that game. Um, but Tottenham, yeah, we should have buried Tottenham. It should be 6 wins out of 7. I think it should be. I can't wait to get Liverpool in the Champions League and beat them twice in that, knock them out. That's what I want to do. You hear that,
Uh,
Jesse?
That'd be a fantastic continuation of that Champions League campaign, when a culmination of all of our brilliant play, knocking Liverpool out the Champions League, getting Real Madrid or whoever it is next, and yeah, we'll knock them out as well. But we'll get to that later in the season. Back to Burnley, a recent clash. Saw Sandro Tonali pick up a knee injury. It is horrible to see, and probably, you know what, it's kind of horrible to say this. It's horrible for a player to miss out, particularly when they've got Tonali's quality. But do you think this is potentially the most reasonable injury that Newcastle could have picked up out of any of their starting 11? And the reason I say that, Ramsey and Willock both fit. Willock's impressed on his last 2 starts. Ramsey chomping at the bit. Lewis Miley playing very, very well. We've got 6 players that could play that centre midfield role to a decent standard. Well, left back, for example, we've got 1, 2. So, do you think Tonali's maybe someone we could afford to have given a rest, even if, well, we'd have rested him and Bruno, but we could afford to have him injured for a little bit, if anyone?
Um, well, we are. I think we're strongly covered in midfield at the moment. But you just have to think if Bruno goes over on his ankle against Burnley, where we go to when we're playing Leverkusen if the pair of them are out. Because however good those first change midfielders are, we need Bruno and Tonali playing the bulk of our games, certainly in the big games. That
Oh,
said, this is Burnley. This might well have been games that they could have been rested for. Um, but yeah, I know what you mean, Michael. If someone's going to get crocked, it should be a midfielder because we've got plenty of cover there. I would have picked a different midfielder, but yeah, we could probably accommodate Tonali being given plenty of time to recover, shall we say? But the massive change, I think, we'll see, and it's quite exciting because you might see that Voltemada almost playing midfield if Johan Wissa can have any length of time against Burnley playing number 9.
yeah, absolutely. He's had 2 warm-up games, 2 11 versus 11s. We'll hear in Eddie Howe's press conference tomorrow exactly what he thinks. But it does sound like we are going to see the first of Johan Wissa in a Newcastle shirt. And to be honest, he might actually be the player that Newcastle have missed the most, because he's going to give us a really, really different style of play. Voltemada, he's not one for getting in behind too much, although he has tried in recent games to some success, but he is so much better coming deep and having more control of the play. Johan Wissa is going to get in behind. He's a bit more of a poacher. He gives us such a good array of options and a different option, doesn't he? Like, those two up front could be really, really exciting for the next couple of months.
I think so, and I think when we're on the transition, which we're very good at.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's I don't know, Murphy and Barnes that are racing away on our opposite sides of the field. That's where the pace is at the moment. With Visser up there as well, he'll get support. He'll get support from whether it's Barnes and Gordon on one side or Alanga and Murphy on the other side, and that should make us have a much more of a cutting edge when it comes to the transition. I don't know if we'll get much opportunity to break quickly against Burnley.
Probably
Maybe
not.
I'm doing them down. But yeah, I think I think he'll be giving us a different dimension to our attacking play. And as the guys seem to have picked up since the international break on their attacking play, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Notch it up an extra level. All sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming at a perfect time as well. And coming at a perfect time, halfway through the episode, we're going to go to our first advert of the evening, and that is Bionique.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Now let's flip to Burnley for a few moments. Scotty Parker's team are struggling, as you mentioned earlier, Iain. 5 straight losses. They've only got 3 wins and 1 draw in 14 matches. They can't keep that defence shut. Surely Newcastle have got to get a few goals and keep a good goal scoring form up, right?
Uh, Michael, of course they should. Of course they should. But, I was there when Newcastle took West Ham on this time last year. And we predicted 4-0, and that was us being kind to West Ham. We lost 2-0. Newcastle are capable of missing a hatful like they did in the first half against Tottenham and
Yeah.
then going into their shell to get caught late. We've seen that. Fulham did it to us last year. Bournemouth did it the whole game to us last year and won 4-1. I think it was 6 games that we lost at home, which we shouldn't have lost last year. So we haven't had one of those yet. So I'm not counting any chickens till I see how they start. But if they start like they started against Everton, like they started against Tottenham, like they started against Marseille, Burnley could be blown away in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can't stop conceding, we're excellent in the opening stages of games. Also, we haven't conceded a goal before the 30th or 30 odd minutes. I can't remember exactly what minute Graven Birch's was for Liverpool, but with it between the 30 and the 40th minute. But that is the earliest goal we have conceded in the league all season. So it's one of those. Newcastle, we're going to start strong. We could blow them away. But if it gets to half time and it's 0-0, I'd maybe start getting a little concerned because even so, Burnley do tend to score goals on the road. They've scored in 6 straight away games, which is very interesting considering you wouldn't expect them to, particularly when you consider who they've faced. And they do have some very, very decent players. Florentino Luis is one that I had marked when when the fixtures were announced against Benfica in our preview that I did beforehand, pretty much as the draw went out. I spoke about Florentino Luis being a massive player for them, and then he went on loan to Burnley. So that ruined everything. And to be honest, he looks a cut above a lot of the players at that club as well. And then you've also got Quilly Hartman, who can from the left flank, who can influence the game, particularly if we switch off on the right flank. But Iain, what do you make of Burnley so far under Scott Parker? Do you think they've got enough to avoid being dead set relegation candidates? Do you think they've got enough to fight?
I think they are a clear third best when it comes to looking at the promoted teams.
I would
And I
agree.
think the assumption before the season kicked off was it would be the three promoted teams that would struggle the most.
Yes.
So if they are third, if they're going to finish below Leeds and below Sunderland, they're needing three existing Premier League teams to be poorer than they are. I think Wolves are.
Yes, absolutely.
I think West Ham might be, but I think Nuno will get that sorted out so that they aren't. And I can't think of any. I mean, we thought Brentford might be, but they're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But Everton doing pretty well. So the teams that have been struggling, Tottenham with a new manager, probably going to avoid 17th this year. I don't see. I don't see Burnley finishing ahead of anyone bar Wolves. To be honest, Leeds could blow up, couldn't they? But then they've got they've got the opportunity to change the manager if they need to. But I mean, last night Leeds beat Chelsea,
Yeah, they were
which was a
fantastic.
fabulous result for them, and they deserve to. I watched some of that. Um, so yeah, the two other promoted teams have got some real fight to them. I forget who the third one is, but I think they're doing even better than Burnley and Leeds.
No.
Um, yeah, Burnley. No, I know you're saying they keep scoring away from home, but you're talking about their only win is 3-2 at Wolves.
Yeah.
I think they got a draw. Did they get a draw at Forest? I don't know if that was away, but they have been beaten by Villa. They've been beaten by was it City? Beat them 5-1,
Yeah, they've lost to Brentford, West
3-1
Ham.
at Brentford. Some other
Uh,
teams lose 3-1 at Brentford and aren't necessarily terrible.
True, true. Yeah, it's actually a good result, they say these days. If Brentford only score 3 against you, wow, you're actually a really good side. Yeah, if I don't laugh, I'll cry. But back to Burnley, and historically, we do tend to enjoy this fixture. 8 of the last 13 meetings have been won by Newcastle, and that does extend back to the Steve Bruce era as well, including that emphatic 4-1 win at Turf Moor last year. At St James's Park specifically, out of 58 games, Newcastle have won 30, and it probably should be 31 by the end of this weekend. But I'm going to say history probably doesn't matter. Burnley's issues are so deep at the moment that it probably reinforces the fact that we should batter them. So with that, I'm going to ask you to name your 11 for me for Newcastle United. I'm going to assume, because of the Nick Pope injury, we haven't done a complete U-turn on Aaron Ramsdale and want, I guess it'd be John Ruddy to start.
Ramsdale in goal, for sure.
Yeah,
Paul and
absolutely.
Livramento at fullback, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think Chow needs a rest because he's played the full games of the last three games? I think Chow
Yeah,
might get a rest, saved for Leverkusen away in Germany, which is obviously he'd be excited about that extra edge with him being German and all. So I'll go Shah and Burn because I believe Botman's going to be crocked. I
yes.
think Tonali's out this weekend because of his kicking that he took. So I
Yeah.
would play Bruno, Miley, and I would play Ramsey. But
Yeah, I
if
agree.
he's not picking Ramsey for some strange reason we don't know about, he'll probably start Willock. But I think Joe Linton needs a rest again to be fully up for the next two games. Um, and then I would probably would play. Do you know what? I'd have a word with Harvey and say, look, I'm starting Anthony today because I want you fit for Leverkusen, and I'd give Gordon a chance. I thought he
Yeah,
changed the game. We looked,
he was
we
good against.
lifted ourselves a level when he came on 70 minutes against Tottenham. Within 5 minutes, he'd set up the first goal for Bruno, and he showed a very cool head and very professionally dispatched his penalty. So his first Premier League goal since January. So I'd probably start Gordon. Um, And if it's all going to be about the pace, let's put Elanga on the other wing. I don't think Murphy was brilliant, to be fair, against Tottenham.
Fair.
And then Voltemara will start up front, but hopefully Whistle will be available for the last 20 minutes, and we might get to see something fairly explosive.
Yeah, completely. I think it's one of those that this is the perfect game to bring Iain Wissa back for. Well, I might not be saying that at the 70th minute if Burnley are in the lead or still hanging in there. Um, but it's one of those where you do feel like Newcastle can rotate a few players, don't you? And with let's be honest, all I'm seeing on socials is how Sunderland are going to not play Granit Xhaka and Noah Siddiqui to make sure they're not out for the derby. We're not really that desperate where we're like, oh well, Bruno can't be playing because he has to be fit for the derby. No, this is still important. We've got Leverkusen as well, but when you've got two brilliant players like the two Anthony's you can put in there on the wings, Jacob Ramsey can come in. Dan Burn, who's just been given the freedom of Blythe, by the way. Congratulations, Dan. I'll put something up for you. But it's one of those where realistically this is the game where we rotate, and the rotated players show that they should be in that Newcastle United 11 because, as you say, Gordon, very good against Spurs. Alanga was brilliant against Everton, in my opinion. It's just Ramsey that really needs that time to cement himself. But
He does.
I've got you to name your 11. Now we're going to go into predictions. The bookies are kind of leaning towards Newcastle. I say kind of, very, very much leaning towards Newcastle. And there is one scoreline that is popping out a bit more than any. Can you guess what that is, Iain?
Is it my 3-1, Michael?
It is! Is that what you're going to go for?
Well, um, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't go for that. I mean,
I'd go for
I hadn't, I
5.
I hadn't spotted that in all of those hammerings that Burnley have been taking, they've scored at least one goal when they've played away from home. But they haven't been hammerings, to be fair. It's only City that's put them to the sword.
Yeah.
I know I would go for Newcastle to win 4-0.
Oh, very emphatic victory, and one I agree with, to be honest. I think it's going to be one of those where, let's be honest, Burnley aren't going to score in every away game. The fact that they've scored 6 in 6 means they're due to not score in one. And I agree. I think we'll batter them. I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be as much as 4. I'm going to go 3. If we blow them away in the first 20 minutes, like we could both be wrong, and it could be 5 or 6. But how many times have we seen us blow teams away at the start and have 4 goals within 50 minutes?
3 or 4 times I can remember. Last season, Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Tottenham the year before.
Absolutely,
3
it's
0 3-0 against Tottenham last year, or 2 years ago, wasn't it? What I do think, Michael, is that Eddie Howe was so annoyed when he heard that giving that goal away cost him 6 places in the league, that he'll have, even though they played well, even though they avoided defeat, and moved up the table a couple of places, I think he'll put a right flea in their ear for that, and they will be very conscious not to make the same mistake against Burnley. So I think they'll be very, very focused. I don't think there'll be any complacency. I don't think they'll ease off till they've got 2 or 3 ahead. They seem to ease off when they went up. Sit back. Why are you doing that? Just inviting trouble.
yeah, we do it
Don't
so.
do that.
It's horrendous, as now. I mentioned on the pod that went out this morning. It was one of the things that Eddie Howe had to fix because it's happened against Brentford, West Ham, Arsenal. We did it against Bilbao and City. It actually worked, but there's so many games this season where we've sort of just sat back and just completely floundered. I agree. I don't think this will be one of those games. I think it's going to be the one where we stamp our authority on St. James's once again. We've stamped our authority on the Hill Dickinson. We're just as good there as Everton are, if not better. And because Burnley are pretty desperate at the minute, they want to end that run of 5 defeats on the bounce. They're either going to have to tighten up and go 10 men behind the ball, or it's going to be a very long afternoon for them. I'm going to wrap up here. Iain, any final words from you on the game that we
Well,
haven't covered?
I think I think yes, it's just 3 points on Saturday. However, the difference in confidence, positivity, momentum that a draw or defeat would give us is huge. It's so much more than 3 points. But the 3 points, I think, sets us up nicely to go and get a positive result in Leverkusen, to jump above the Mackems when we win at, I was going to say Roker Park there. That was a while ago, wasn't it? But the two games after that, it's our quarter final against Fulham and then a home match against Chelsea. And I'm very
Yeah,
encouraged for the home match against Chelsea, having watched Leeds beat them 3-1 last night. So this is
funny.
I mean, I know you talked about it this morning. I don't know how far forward you looked, but this is a setup for us to do one of the famous Eddie Howe runs, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Our
I completely
performances
agree.
look like we could do that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's one of those where you look at the teams we face and you go, well, they're not the kind of team that really blows us away traditionally or does well against us. I think the next game we have where a team tends to do well against us is Aston Villa at Villa Park, where we do well. Actually, Aston Villa point blank is the we've already played them at Villa Park, haven't we?
We tried him the first game of the season at Villa Park, Michael. I
Yeah,
think
it's Villa Park.
Villa at home is us. If it's Villa, is it Villa? After Chelsea, it's Man United at Old Trafford on Boxing
Yeah,
Day, isn't it?
and maybe
And then it's
Palace at home
and
could
then
be
it's
one where we
Burnley
drop
again.
on. Yeah, Leeds after that. Well, Palace after that, then Leeds, then Wolves. Again, very winnable fixtures. And the only two between now and PSG that I'm worried about is Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. And again, Villa, we do well up here. We do shockingly down there traditionally. And Palace, we've got a great record against at St James's Park. So well, you know what, I go into it in more detail. That podcast will go out tomorrow. So join us for that and get the full thoughts. But yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think it'll be a really, really good run of form for Newcastle, and I think this is just the start. But that's it for today. I've been Michael Grahamslaw. Thank you, Iain, for joining me. It's much appreciated. Check us out wherever you find your podcasts, on our social media at GSPN Newcastle, or even on the radio by checking out NUFC Talk TV. But for now, take care.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.